The 1979 Wheatley Brackenridge Eagles were perhaps one of the greatest high school football teams that San Antonio ISD has ever produced. The 79 Eagles defied the odds and soared to winning the San Antonio City Championship in Class 4A, the state's largest UIL classification at that time. The 44-member team, composed of 24 seniors, compiled a 9-3-1 overall record. The Eagles started the season 1-1-1 before turning it on and rolling to a district championship. In the playoffs, the team upset Lee High School 16-14 to win the bi-district championship. Lee boasted offensive tackle Bruce Colley, who went on to play in the NFL for Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers. In the second round of the state playoffs, the Wheatley Eagles stunned John Jay High School in a thriller 21-20 to win the UIL Region Crown and San Antonio's coveted city championship. The game was won in the closing minutes when star player Kenny Roberts recovered a J fumble in the end zone to seal the win for the Eagles.
Ooh, that city game. That was a hard game. It was so cold. We never played in the cold weather like that. So that game, we played against three top backs. You had Staten, Beverly, and Coles. They were three big boys that were just awesome runners. But our defense kept them solid. We kept putting on them. And toward the end, they were going for a 2-point conversion. And me, Tom, and Victor went in as playing the goal line defense. And Sidney, Carl Hurd hit Cole, and the ball popped up. So they lost the ball in the end zone. And we was all sitting there, and I saw the ball in the end zone. I got up and ran to the ball because I figured, it's a free ball. Jumped on the football. James Brown, JB jumped on top of me, and everybody piled up. But when that happened, the stadium got crazy. It was just because they knew that if they would have scored that point, they would have been ahead of us or they would have won the game. But that was one of the games that stood out like real big for everybody because it was a city championship game, and John Jay at that time was supposed to be on goal to the state championship. But we got a hold of them before they got there, and that game was it was an awesome game.
Oh, it felt awesome. And then to hear the media, what I understood was the Spurs were playing that same night, and they announced the score that we had won against John Jay, and the whole stadium got up and started cheering and clapping. Because that was the San Antonio Independent School District team and not a North Side School District or Northeast School District. And that was awesome.
So the San Antonio Independent School District had been knocking at the door, but couldn't break the lock that Northeast and North Side had put. And so if we couldn't beat one, we still couldn't beat the other, and we busted both locks. Now I felt that we were special, and now we're so happy to be part of that.
In the third round quarterfinal game, Wheatley Brackenridge hosted Alice in front of 15,000 plus fans at Alamo Stadium. It was a game of the ages where the two best teams in South Texas went head to head. Wheatley was up 14-7 at halftime in the back and forth game. In the end, the Eagles bowed to Alice 29-20. Star players from both Wheatley and Alice remember the game well.
Well, it was an afternoon game, and Alice Coyote, they had a game plan, and so we scouted them. We felt good about it, and you think you're ready, and you think you've experienced a bi-district, a city championship, but when you walk into the Rock, and there's not a seat available, and they put in bleachers in the end zone, and the legend goes that cars were backed up all the way back to the Hemisphere Tower. I mean, the atmosphere was like a college level game, and everybody, not SAISD, everybody in San Antonio had an investment in us, and they wanted us to win, and they followed us. And everywhere I go, the 35 years I've coached and taught here, I have people always bringing up those 79 Eagles. So it was a special day.
At the Alamo Stadium, it was packed to the gills. And I remember walking out onto the field, looking around and absorbing my surroundings in awe of the energy that I felt in not only in myself, but in this area where everyone was there to see two high school teams play against each other. And one vivid moment, and I tell this to everyone that listens to me, is as I looked out into the crowd, I was looking first of all for my parents. And once I found out where they were at, then I was good, because I did that for every game. I wanted to make sure where the folks were. And then as I was looking for them, I ran across some gentleman walking, and I kid you not, this was in the middle, it was a warm day. It was during the day. It was December, but it was still kind of a warm day, and this gentleman was wearing a length fur coat. He had this hat with a feather coming out, and he had this long fur coat, and it reminded me of the fur coat that I think there's pictures of Joe Namath wearing, and other celebrities. And I thought, oh my God, we have reached the pinnacle of the variety of people coming to our games. And I'll never forget seeing that gentleman. I don't know who he was, or whether he was an Alice fan or a Wheatley fan, but it seared in my mind when I saw that, because I thought, okay, now we've made it. This is like Hollywood.
An interesting fun fact from the Eagles-Coyotes game, Jesse Cervantes grew up in Alice and played football for the team. In the summer of his senior year in 1979, his family moved to San Antonio, and he attended Wheatley High School and became the star defensive end for the Eagles.
As far as the game for San Antonio versus Alice, that was a dream, I think, for me. I can honestly say I knew pretty much everybody on both sides, including the coaches. When I got on that field, only a few people know this, but I'm pretty sure they're going to know more and more. I had a temperature of 101 degrees that Saturday morning, and I wasn't going to miss this for the life. But I started taking medication that morning. My mother said, hey, how do you feel? I said, fine. I was lying, but yeah, I told her fine. And I recalled that leading to the game, I started getting better. I was just sitting still, I guess, but I was drinking plenty of water. And when I got there, honestly, I can honestly say that my mind couldn't register. Was this game really happening? Is it really, truly happening? Am I in a dream? Do I need to wake up?
But my recollection of that game was it was an afternoon game. We're playing in Alamo Stadium. It's a nice stadium. I mean, really nice stadium. Domed all the way around. People were all in the stands, and I just remember that we had a classmate that went to school with me, Jesse Cervantes, who I met him in middle school. We were classmates, teammates. And he was a big guy too back then. I mean, Jesse was a big guy, bigger than normal, from what I recall. But he transferred over to San Antonio, and we were playing them in that third round of the playoffs. He was on that team, and we were concerned that because he knew our plays, and so we kind of fixed it up to where we would make some dummy audibles because he was playing defense, and we did a lot of audibling at the line of scrimmage. We paired plays, and we would check off and that kind of thing, and so we did some dummy calls. And I remember, how we would say red, this, and then he would say, hey, they're going there. Well, we didn't. It was a dummy call, and we would go the other way. So after a little bit of that, some of the teammates, you could see them getting frustrated with him, and they just kind of blew him off and didn't believe him anymore. So the mission was accomplished. That's kind of one of our goals. But I remember that game was just it's an afternoon game. We put black stuff under our eyes, like everything else, and it was just a hard-fought game. 29-20 was the final score.
The Wheatley Brackenridge Eagles went 3 rounds deep into the playoffs and won the city championship. No other San Antonio ISD football team has accomplished that feat since. David Flores, a retired sports columnist for 43 years, primarily working at the San Antonio Express-News, remembers the Wheatley team vividly. In 1979, Flores started his illustrious career at the Express-News and covered the Wheatley team.
it gives the community something to rally around. See, that's Wheatley was more than a school in that area. It gave those fans something to cheer for, rally around, and they have as much pride, in their football program as much as Judson does, or South Lake Carroll, or something. It was just a really close-knit community, and they took a lot of pride, and they'll never forget. Those people that followed that team will never forget the 1979 Wheatley Eagles. It was just a great season that you'll never forget.
The 1979 Eagles produced 5 All-City first-team players, a district record that still stands. All-City players included Kenny Roberts, offensive tackle, Marty Martinez, defensive tackle, Sidney Graham, defensive back, Eddie Martinez, linebacker, and Tom Collins, offensive guard. Roberts went on to play Division I college football for SMU and the famed Pony Express in the early 1980s. Other players on the Wheatley Eagles football team were as follows: Sergio Alanis, John Areola, James Brown, Arnold Crespo, Eddie Douglas, Glenn Edwards, John Evans, Robert Fuentes, Robert Galindo, Jaime Garcia, Javier Gomez, Richard Gomez, Victor Gomez, Abel Gonzalez, Edward Gonzalez, Henry Gonzalez, Carol Hauser, Carl Hurd, Frank Inouye, Joseph Kozek, David Lita, Jeffrey Lucas, Anton Malish, Gilbert Mancha, Greg McEwen, Adam Mejia, Scott Munn, Jeffrey Nettles, Donald Ray Nolan, Angel Nunez, Martin Olivares, Roland Perez, Jose Quinones, Jesse Renteria, Greg Robinson, Victor Sanford, Domingo Solis, and Glenn Thomas. Head coach for the Eagles was Joe Rendon. Top assistant coaches included Charlie Peña, offensive coordinator, and Cecil Lara, defensive coordinator. Other assistant coaches included Jerry Call, Clarence Alberts, Richard Solis, Calvin Usry, Val Estreo, and Edmundo Cota. Trainer was Mike Vara. Student trainers were Luis Almanza, Lenora Valderas, and Josie Reyes. Managers were Joe Norris, Alfie Peña, and Cecil Lara. Statisticians were Karen Mills and Lisa Sweet.
It's going to be hard to match up the way we had our camaraderie, our friendship, our loyalty to each other. Is like if somebody didn't have some, there was somebody else there. And that speaks volumes, because it's not everyone that gets that. Everybody wants to be individual, and we weren't that way. We wanted to be together.
My best memory was actually winning the championship, and the joy and elation of the kids and the school and the community that came about. And the kids deserved it. They were one of a kind. No one thought that we could possibly do something like that until it came to fruition. We had kids from the neighborhood, we had kids that came from the courts, we had kids from every walk of life that we had to mesh together and bring them together, and Lord, we did it.
The 1979 Wheatley Brackenridge Eagles football team, a Cinderella team that overcame the odds to win a city championship, and an honoree into the SAISD Athletic Hall of Fame.